One, you're tuned in to Agriculture Today, and we start our Friday show with a grain market update with K-State grain economist Dan O'Brien. Dan, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Shelby.
Dan, looking at the markets have closed down a bit, and where are those numbers at, and why might that be?
I think the market sentiment is that there are no immediate threats to the crops, and when in years where we don't have an emerging drought or any other major maladies, when we get to this part of June, it's not unheard of at all to see prices start to decline from late June on into harvest. So there is that possibility for sure. Now, we'll perhaps we'll talk some more about what I think the likelihood of that is later on. But so we had corn closed yesterday, up front 439 and three quarters for the July contract, and then the December contract at 456 and three quarters. So you've got that's about a 16, 17 cents differential, in that there's still some worry about what'll happen, but that's not I'd contend a major indicator of market risk. In fact, and you look at some of the weekly charts and look at the amount of variability in prices we've seen, what you'd may call a standard deviation of prices. We really haven't had a lot of deviation or I guess riskiness, volatility since probably all the way back to last October, a little bit in February, but just not a lot. So corn, pretty comfortable right now with the numbers. The crops are all in for the most part. Pretty good crop rating. Just one or two areas where you have some issues, but really, as far as corn goes right now, we're sitting in hand with moisture and crops going forward. We'll see where we go. I would say that here now next week, a week from today, on the 28th of June, there'll be the USDA NASS, National Agricultural Statistics Service, will release their acreage report and the stocks report. So that if there's a cutback because of some wet weather we've had in the corn producing areas and a shift over to soybeans, well, that could have an effect on the corn market. We shall see. And really, very much the same story right now. No threats to the soybean crop, U.S. soybean crop, and we've seen on yesterday's closes that the July lead contract 11.55 and a quarter, and the November harvest contract 11.16 and three quarters. So whereas for corn, there's some actual climb in prices. Here for soybeans, you're already seeing a drop of about 35, 36 cents or so. So not so much worry at this time about anything happening to soybeans. And with that, you've got markets that can afford to go ahead and trade sideways, drift lower sometimes, and there's no other news that's coming in that's changing that. So you got that. We'll come back, talk about some issues that affect that, and really that if there's this possibility of an acreage shift coming out of that report a week from today, the USDA acreage report, then I guess my first thought would be it might end up being positive for corn prices, but kind of a piling on of negativity with increased acres, increased production prospects for soybeans. So let's just stay tuned to see what that all brings about. And then for wheat, of course, the big issue for us right now domestically is the wheat harvest in hard red winter wheat country. And I guess I'd say mixed results. And I think you and I were talking before we came on air, as you talk to agents and others on their harvest reports. I think you're hearing mixed reports on that too. Would you like to say a word on that at all?
People can hear more about it from our Tuesday show, but really the extension agents, a lot of variability from what they're hearing from their farmers and elevators.
Yeah, very mixed, especially in central Kansas, especially so. So we'll see where all that goes. But I would say for wheat, very pronounced. We had kind of this tortured, jagged run up from all the way from late April, early May, from a low about 575 up to about 750, and we've almost given all of that back now. We're back down to about, again, 592 in terms of the yesterday's close on the downside, and harvest is coming on. I would still say that the international picture is dicey, and you can see that in that last USDA report. I really didn't talk about that last time when Guy and I were speaking on it, but you just look at what happened just in 1 month. The Russian production dropped 5 million metric tons from 88 to 83 million metric tons. Ukrainian production from 21 million metric tons to 19 and a half. European production down 1.5 million metric tons, and those problems aren't going away. So, and all of that still brought about a world minus China index stocks number of 18.5%, and that's the lowest. We used to hang out pretty comfortably 22, 23, 24. Well, we just keep chunking ourselves down into that, and it somewhere out there it bodes for real volatility. But I've kind of become convinced that until we actually see a pickup in U.S. wheat exports, and that comes in and affects basis and flows of grain out of Kansas, that the market can sit there and be pretty insulated from bearish positions, just because we're not seeing any cash movement. So pardon me, that's the thing to look for. In the last week, on Monday, the USDA came out with a preliminary early week shipment report. Said about 13.8 million bushels was shipped during the week ending June the 13th, and we need a pace of about 13.9. If that holds up, if we get that every week, then that'd be at the start of moving towards some price pressure demand pull that could help the wheat market, but it'll have to be repeated.
Dan, what prices have you been seeing from Kansas grain elevators?
We're seeing wheat harvest, and it is, there's a real mixed element to that too. And we look at the prices in the area around Colby, Salina, Topeka, Garden City, Hutchinson, and Columbus, and you've got a variety of elevators. There's some terminal type price leaders there, and some other more countryish elevators that at this time are taking grain in. The price that stands out most is that the top price in the Hutchinson area of 601, based off of futures that day. Then, and as the cash market, 601 off of 592 futures, and so it's 9-cent positive basis in the Hutchinson. Well, and the new crop bid in July, which we're not to yet, based off of that'll have to be off the September futures. You got a 21-cent positive basis, and of course that's that central part of the state around Hutchinson is where we've had some real mixed growing conditions. So there you go. It just kind of a lot of local supply demand issues at hand, and you also see pretty good prices for the new crop bid in Salina at 18 over 616 for July delivery. Well, gracious, that's a pretty good wheat basis also. But then you go out to the west, and the Colby Northwest Kansas basis 39 under, Garden City 19 under, so we're mixed out there, and Columbus down southeast 29 under. Of course, they've had what their harvest come in before. So anyway, you ask how are cash prices doing? The most immediate issue is what is wheat coming out of the fields. What's it coming to? Well, in some of these export oriented areas, we have some pricing opportunities, and that's indicative that somebody is thinking they'll need some wheat to fill trains, or to accomplish something in the movement side. So we'll see. At least that's my take on it. And one other thing in answer to that question, the corn market is still, I think, from where we're at right now, from where we were about 3 weeks ago, where we're at right now, we've seen an improvement in corn basis in some of these areas. And So not a lot. We haven't gained $1, but 10, 15, 20 cents, something like that. And that's just at elevators. You hear private reports of a feedlot or some other buyer really, apparently being caught short, offering a really good bid. So that doesn't surprise me that we'd be coming into this last quarter of the marketing year and needing to fill some gaps. So we're watching for that. Soybean prices pretty weak all along, except again, you've got this pretty strong basis bid, cash bid 11.55, and in the Hutchinson area, even money with the futures, and that compares to everything else being at least 45, 70, or $1.20 in cases under. So again, you have some specific places around the state that have some pretty good bids, and people have holes to fill in their supplies, and that makes a difference.
Wanting to make a quick mention of something really important when it comes to crop production, weather, and how is that looking like it might play into everything?
Well, of course, our good friend Chip Redman is a guy that said it best, but I would say that the USDA has raised their likelihood of a La Nina weather event happening July, August, September, and it was about 60%. Now it's up to 65%, and that with us correlates with the possibility of hot, dry weather. So it's great to have this moisture now. We want to bank up as much as we can, because if we do get hot elements, hot, dry elements later in the summer, we'll use up anything that there's the potential for drawing on those reserves and having more of a crop stress situation than we have right now, and not just in Western Kansas, but in the whole Corn Belt. We'll see where that plays out.
Dan, I appreciate you taking the time to join us today and give us our grain market update.
Thank you, Shelby. Take care.
That was K-State grain economist Dan O'Brien. We're cutting to a short break now on Agriculture Today, but we'll be right back.